Ippo and Itadaki's fights at the same event are the most crucial fights of both characters' career and the ones that change up the story forever. After Itadaki's pivotal fight against Imai for the Japanese Featherweight Championship, Itagaki became irrelevant to the story, with his special time stop ability simply vanishing and him barely getting wins via decision. Meanwhile, Ippo's fight against Alfredo Gonzales, which should have been the preliminary match before his big fight against Ricardo Martinez, ended in a disaster and subsequently made Ippo's accumulated brain damage evidence, forcing him to retire from the sport just one fight later. The whole thing happened after Volk's world title fight for the Junior Lightweight Championship, where Ippo and Sano witnessed Volk winning his first world championship. Ippo and Sano, pumped from witnessing that intense fight, were in an adrenaline rush and wanted to cool it off with a spa. The Kamogawa boys arrived at the gym and found Ippo barely conscious, hanging onto the ropes in the ring after the intense spar. Meanwhile, on his way back, Sano ran into Takamura and proudly announced that he had finally managed to kick Ippo's ass in a spar. Strangely, Takamura asked if Sano noticed that Ippo seemed weaker. Sano shrugged it off, claiming he had simply gotten stronger, and was eagerly awaiting Ippo's challenge to dethrone Ricardo Martinez. Back at the gym, Kamogawa informed Ippo that his match with Alfredo Gonzales had been confirmed, prompting Ippo to relinquish the Japanese title. With that, it became Itadaki's responsibility to reclaim the title, and both of them would be competing at the same event. The next day, Ippo went to deliver some fish to Kumi, who invited him to stay for dinner. They flirted a bit, with Ippo sipping hard, and they almost smooshed again, until Mashiba came home and started interrogating Ippo about what they were doing. Mashiba also asked why Ippo's face was all messed up. Ippo explained he fought Sano and shared his intentions in boxing, saying that even though he's all banged up, he still wants to be able to walk home on his two own feet. Mashiba, unimpressed, called out Ippo's lackluster mindset towards challenging the world, stating that he too thought Ippo had gotten weaker. It was also revealed that Itagaki will face Imai again for the title, whom he previously defeated and has now become a bit smug. After almost 700 chapters, we finally see Ricardo Martinez again, who is on a phone call with Gonzalez. In their conversation, it's revealed that Gonzalez has only lost twice in his boxing career, both times to Ricardo, and he wants another rematch after he defeats Ippo. Martinez initially doesn't remember who Ippo is until his coach reminds him that he is the Japanese champion who uses the peekaboo technique. Ricardo's face then lights up as he tells his coach he wishes he would mention that earlier so he could warn Gonzalez about Ippo's strength. We learn that Gonzalez grew up in the streets and admired Ricardo's matches, especially since Ricardo would give free tickets to kids to watch. During Ricardo's fight against Date, he delivered a speech that inspired Alfredo to become a boxer, emphasizing the importance of machismo. AG Date reviewed Gonzalez's fights and noted that Gonzalez is nearly a copy of Ricardo Martinez, though he also senses a deep, aggressive side that Alfredo tries to hide. Ippo goes through one last final training montage before his fight with Gonzalez. All that is left is the battle itself. Alfredo lands in Japan and has been sparring with other featherweights. Imai in particular caught his attention, but thankfully that spar didn't happen. It would have been a brutal massacre for Imai. At the weigh-ins, Ippo and Alfredo finally come face to face. When asked how they felt about their upcoming match, Ippo gave a generic answer, while Alfredo answered from Ricardo's point of view, stating that he didn't expect much of Ippo. In the hall, Ippo wished Itagaki the best of luck before Itagaki entered the ring, where he was introduced with his nickname Kronos, the god of time. Imai also entered the ring, and the fight was set to begin. When the bell rang, Imai charged at Itagaki, who entered the Matrix to slow things down and tried to push Imai back. But Imai landed a gut punch and followed with a left hook, sending Itagaki down. Imai had prepared extensively for this rematch ever since his loss against Itagaki, studying every one of Itadaki's fights and memorizing his movements. He knew about Itadaki's ability to slow down time ever since their first fight where Itagaki unleashed the potential. And now, Imai took it upon himself to finally unseal the potential he unleashed from Itagaki. Both fighters exchanged blows and Imai managed to disrupt Itadaki's footwork. Imai threw another punch, and as Itagaki attempted to counter, it was clear his punch was now going too slow. Imai landed a decisive blow, knocking Itagaki out cold, and the match ended with Imai becoming the new featherweight champion. A devastated Itagaki congratulated Imai and then backstage broke down in frustration over losing and not fulfilling the promise he made with Ippo. And that's pretty much the last time Itagaki holds any real relevance in the story. He will be barely important to the story ever again from now on. Ippo witnessed the whole fight and was now the event's last hope to make an impact for the Kamogawa gym. Ippo and Kamogawa had one final conversation to beat Gonzalez and then challenge Ricardo Martinez, while Gonzalez saw Ippo as just a stepping stone to fight Ricardo himself. Gonzalez even has the nickname Melzli, meaning the Mexican Reaper. Both of them stood in the ring and the fight began. Ippo tried to move in, but predictably first had to get used to Gonzalez's long jabs, which he specifically trained for since in Hajime no Ippo lore, Mexicans have these genetically coded jabs. Ippo got used to Alfredo's style and got into his reach, but failed to make a punch connect as Gonzalez deflected every blow, though he was still cautious about Ippo's monstrous strength. Alfredo got serious and sped up his jabs, landing some damage on Ippo. However, it took more than jabs to take Ippo down. Ippo ate the incoming jabs and pushed through them to deliver a liver blow, which Alfredo also managed to block. The second round began and both men continued with the same strategy. However, Miyata noted that Alfredo hadn't used his right fist even once and seemed to be waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike Ippo. Ippo managed to get in, where Alfredo baited him and finally used his right, landing it on Ippo, who absorbed it with his forehead. Ippo fell for the same pattern again and received another blow to the forehead, but this time he moved forward and delivered a successful liver blow of his own. Now it was an all-out infight with Gonzalez aiming for Ippo's head while Ippo targeted Gonzalez's midsection until the end of the round. The third round began and both men increased their speed. Ippo used the same strategy to eat the jabs to get close to Gonzalez, but Gonzalez pulled a devastating left hook that sent Ippo crashing to the mat. This is the first time since Ippo's fight with Sanada that he went down. Ippo barely got back up to continue the fight and the round ended. The fight skips right into the middle of the fifth round where we see Ippo all banged up, while Gonzalez has barely taken any damage. The atmosphere in the arena changed. All Ippo can do is take punches while holding himself from going down, but he still isn't able to land anything. Kamogawa even had a flashback of Wally and Miguel for some reason. At the end of the round, Ippo was given permission to use the Dempsey roll and unleashed it. Alfredo just stared at Ippo and finally snapped. He felt insulted by Ippo's lack of boxing IQ and now wanted to completely destroy Ippo with the Dempsey roll, showing his true colors. Alfredo slowly approached the Dempseying Ippo, looking to counter him head on as Ippo unleashed the Dempsey roll. It was a dangerous strategy and whoever got hit was going down, making for a scary sight with almost duel exchanges. Right on time, Ippo used the Dempsey counter, stopping his punch to let Alfredo throw his, then planned to land a clean hit. But Alfredo simply pushed forward and clinched with Ippo, stopping the Dempsey counter. They both got into an infight again. Now Gonzalez abandoned his cool-headed style and just went all out on Ippo. Ippo noticed Gonzalez's guard was loose and went for a body blow that transitioned into an uppercut, which Gonzalez barely managed to block at the last second. However, he still felt the impact. They exchanged punches and prepared to continue their infight, but Gonzalez unexpectedly went down. This gave Ippo the motivation that Kamogawa's teachings could work at the world level, while Kamogawa himself had another flashback of Wally and his coach. Gonzalez got back up and Ippo tried to finish him off while he was still weak, but the bell rang, ending the round. Gonzalez aimed to finish off Ippo in the 7th round, landing heavy punches on him. Ippo absorbed the damage and refused to go down. It was now or never, so Ippo threw everything he had to land a decisive blow on Gonzalez. Both men were now literally beating the life out of each other, but Alfredo had the upper hand in the infight. Ippo landed another deadly uppercut, sending Alfredo unconscious to the ropes. Ippo looked back at Kamogawa one last time, signaling that he would end the fight now. Kamogawa then finally understood why he remembered Wally and his coach. They warned him that Ippo was on a path to disaster if he didn't change his style, and Kamogawa realized this too late. Ippo charged in to finish Alfredo once and for all. Alfredo wasn't going to let his chance to fight Ricardo slip away, and risked everything to exchange this final blow with Ippo. It was a matter of who connected first, and unfortunately, Ippo got tapped first, punched into oblivion, and fell face first into the mat. Before the ref could even begin to count, Kamogawa rushed to Ippo, urging him to get back up, but Ippo didn't respond. At the same time, Takamura had an inner monologue wanting Kamogawa not to worry about Ippo as long as Takamura was still here. Ippo got up but fell onto Alfredo's shoulder, and Alfredo pushed him away. Ippo lost for a second time in his career, failing to conquer the world stage. When the arena was empty, Date consoled Takamura, saying everything would be okay and the sun will shine again. Takamura, however, wasn't convinced and shadowboxed his frustrations away in the empty arena. I thank my members for supporting my channel, especially Prime for being an awesome member. If you have enjoyed this video, then please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more Hajime Ippo content. I'm the Reading Crow and thanks for watching.